Thank you, Hashem. Okay, in this list of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Before Shleima, Fichil Nasim Ben Sarah, and Aaron David Alevi, and Mincha Lester. We're going to start Yud Dalet Amud Aleph. Echad B'Shvat Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan. Yeah, a new section of the Mishnah. To see what this is, what's going on over here. The new year for trees is, according to Beis Shammai, the 1st of Shvat. My timer, the Gemara asks right away. It's towards the bottom of the page. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar Rabbi Ishia. Rabbi Lazar says in the name of Rabbi Ishia, Hayal v'yatzu reiv gishmei shana. Most of the rain of the year has ended. V'adayin reiv tkufa mi bachutz, and it still hasn't come the winter season. Yeah, Tkufas Tevis. So the rain comes earlier than the winter. What's the winter in our what's the winter? The 20 something December something till March, right? December 21st till March 21st. December 22nd till March 21st. So, and when is Shvat? Shvat is January, is February, the end of January, February. So the most of the rain has already fallen by January. Yeah. Okay. But then it says Vadain Reif Tkufami Bachutz, but still the winter hasn't come. So Maika Amar, or majority of the winter hasn't passed. What does that mean? It should be okay. As you'll see the answer, you'll get what was bothering. Hachik Amar. This is what it means to say Afal Pish Reif Tkufami Bachutz. Even though the winter hasn't passed, but nevertheless Hayol V'Yatz Reif Gish Meshana. But because most of the rain has fallen. So like we explained before, that when we look at the fruit, we look at the fruit, it was grown because of the rain. In other words, the formation of the bud, of the flowering and the budding of the fruit was because of the rain. And majority of the rain has passed. That means that rain has formed this fruit. And we say that that's the end of the year. The fruits has been formed, and when we talk about trees, the formation of the fruit was what we did. It was chanata. When it forms, that was the big deal. When we spoke about vegetables, it was the picking of it. When we spoke about the grain, it was growing a third. So when we talk about the fruits, we're looking at the majority of the water which would cause it to bud, or the water of that year it's caused it to bud. Okay, now we enter into a sugya that's hard to get out of. Very complex sugya. It's also in the beginning of Kedushin, but I think a lot of times they skip it. Anyway, let's go. Taner Rabbanan, Torah in a Brisa. Ma'aseh b'Rabbi Akiva, shaliket esrog bechad b'Shvat v'nog b'shnei yisurim. Morning. Rabbi Akiva, one time, he took an esrog on the 1st of Shvat, and then he had to take both tithes. Well, this is what he did. He took both tithes. Now, when we say both tithes, we mean not Ma'aser Rishon, Ma'aser Sheni. What we mean is Ma'aser Rishon for sure he took. That's the Ma'aser that goes to the Levi. He took both tithes.
Sorry, I may have just, as I was trying to find it on my Korea here. Why is it saying Bechad B'Shvat and not Tu B'Shvat?
We'll see. We'll see. That's going to be a big discussion in the Gemara. Yeah.
I thought I might have missed something there. So.
No, that's going to be a big discussion. Yeah, that's part of the problem. That's what creates the complexity in this. So apparently he's marking off the year with Echad B'Shvat, and he's concerned about the two different the two ties that are in different years. So let's say we're talking about the second year going into the third year. So in the first and second year, the second tithe is taken to Yerushalayim. In the third year, the second tithe is not, it's not called the second tithe, it's called Meiser Ani. Goes to the poor. So he does both. Why? Because he picked it on Echad B'Shvat. So he has some sort of doubt. And he's not sure, should he consider it the second year or the third year? So he has to do Meiser Sheni and Meiser Ani. That's what he held. Tosfos asks, there's a problem. There's a problem. Let's say you separate the second tithe. If it was the third year, then you didn't separate for the Ani, and you didn't separate. There's a certain amount that gets separated. There's a tenth that gets separated. Now, was Meiser taken from that amount that got separated? Really, if it's the third year, then I have a certain amount of produce here that Meiser was never taken from. Because when I did take Meiser Ani, I didn't take it off the Meiser Sheni. I took Meiser Ani off the remainder.
But this is still from the 90% after Meiser Rishon.
Right, from the 90% after Meiser Sheni.
Then I thought it's either or Meiser Sheni or Meiser Ani.
That's what it's supposed to be. But because he picked it on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, so we're going to discuss why there's a doubt or whatever. Okay, so there's a bit of a problem. So Tosfos explains that and then there's another issue, is that when he does his Meiser Ani, if Meiser Sheni was not really what he was supposed to do, then he's taking 10%, excluding the Meiser Sheni. It's only 10% of the remainder. And really, Meiser Sheni wasn't there, so he should have taken more than 10%. Meiser Sheni was nothing, should have taken more. So Tosfos resolves this by saying, he separated from Meiser Sheni. What do you do with Meiser Sheni? You redeem it, and you take the money to Yerushalayim. And then the produce becomes regular. What he did was, he separated Meiser Sheni. He redeems the Meiser Sheni, and instead of taking it to Yerushalayim, he redeems the Meiser Sheni. The money he takes to Yerushalayim, and he gives all the produce, instead of eating it himself, he gives it to the poor. That way, it's the right amount. And it's also Meiser Ani. It covers both. It's a good catch. It's a good, it works out that it's exactly what we were looking for. Okay. Yeah, Esrog is very important here. Yeah, every detail here. We'll see. We'll see. This is just one wild story. Okay. We're on top of Yudal Amud Beis. Well, Echad Kedivri Beis Shammai, Echad Kedivri Beis Hillel. Why did he take two? Because according to Beis Shammai, it's in the third year. According to Beis Hillel, it's in the second year. Because Beis Hillel says that when is the Rosh Hashanah for trees? It's on Tu B'Shvat, so that's 2 weeks later. So he picked it, by the way, which is strange, because according to the rule of trees, normally trees goes after when it buds. And there was no mention of here when it was budding. He says he picked it. Okay, so there's a problem here already, but the Gemara will get into that. So, but he's not sure if it's Beis Hillel or Beis Shammai. Rabbi Yosi Bar Yehuda says, Loi minig Beis Shammai u Beis Hillel nagba. The complication was not a machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. He didn't know which way to go. That wasn't the issue with Rabbi Akiva, which is very surprising. Rabbi Akiva doesn't know if there's a machlokes Beis Hillel Beis Shammai, which way, how we paskin. There was a baskel already that we paskin like Beis Shammai much earlier. No, actually, it was in Yavne. The baskel, the Yerushalmi tells us. the maskal came on. Yeah. Ella, rather, Rabbi Yossi Ella minig Rabbi Gamliel Rabbi Lezer Nagva. It was actually a different machlekes. It's a machlekes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Gamliel. And we have to learn what's going on over there. And this is Sugi and Kedushin. The Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. Esrog Shavali Ilan Begimel Drachim Uliyerek Bederech Echad. When we compare what an esrog is, it's very similar to a tree, to a fruit tree, in three ways, but it has one similarity to a vegetable. Now, in physically, in Gashmias, the only similarity that it would have to the vegetable is that certain citrus trees, they give fruit and they'll continue to blossom while there's still fruit on the tree. They'll, instead of having a season like mangoes, they have a season and then they're out, like lychees or something. 2 weeks, you get it. Or mangoes is like 2 months, you get them and it's over. With citrus fruits, it's not necessarily so. You can get flowers and fruit at the same time. And then it will continue, which that's similar to a vegetable, because the vegetables will continue to give you tomatoes or whatever throughout the throughout whatever it is, the summer, so you can still continue, which is interesting. So there is a Gashmias, not just a halachic question here. What's the association esrog with the vegetable? Okay, so now let's see what he says. This is going to be Rabbi Gamliel's opinion. Le'ilan begimel drachim, it's similar to the tree in three ways. Well, it has arla, la'arla, ularevai, and it has the fourth year. Arla is the first 3 years, the fruits are forbidden. That would only be a tree, not a vegetable. Vegetables you have to replant usually. It can't be 3 years. Ularevai, the fourth year, you have to take it to Yerushalayim, similar to Meiser Sheni. Ulashvias, and it also has the rules of Shvias. Well, so do vegetables. But probably what it means is that when does it enter the year of Shemitah? Only if it was Chanata. The budding of the fruit was in the 7th year. But you don't go after the picking of the fruit in the 7th year. In other words, if the picking of the fruit was in the 8th year, but it put it in the 7th year, we're going to continue it consider it a Shemitah fruit. But it's similar to a vegetable in one way, that the time of picking is the year of Meiser. Usually by fruits, you follow when it buds, and by vegetables, when you pick it. By esrog, it's when you pick it. Okay. The Rabbi Gamliel. It's the words of Rabbi Gamliel. Now, there's a slight problem here, because what we're trying to get from Rabbi Gamliel is to say that since it's picked in the 3rd year, then it's going to have the 3rd year halachas. What's the 3rd year? We're going to follow Beishamai, apparently. We're going to say that it's Echad B'Shvat. So, yeah. Rabbi Eliezer says, Esek Shaval Il L'chol Davar. No, it follows a tree, esrog is similar to tree in all manners, which means that you follow, even for Maisa, you follow Chanata, when it budded. So it's only 2nd year fruit. So the question, the doubt of Rabbi Akiva, why he wasn't sure which Maisa to take, was because he wasn't sure if he should go like Rabbi Gamliel or like Rabbi Eliezer. According to Rabbi Gamliel, you decide when you pick it, what year. I mean, it's when you pick it that decides which year it is. And according to Rabbi Eliezer, when it buds, that decides what year it is. Okay. Yeah, we still have that Beishamai problem, even if you follow Ram Gamliel, but you still just followed Beishamai. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to the first approach, not Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda's approach, but the first approach of Rabbi Akiva, that he had a doubt which way to go, like Beis Hillel or Beishamai. For an esrog. Yeah. You see, according to the first opinion here, Echad K'div Beisham, Echad K'div Beisilal, Esrog is insignificant, the Shaila. I mean, every fruit would have the same Shaila. Is it Beisilal or Beishamai? According to Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, that it's a Machlokes, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Eliezer. So it's only about an esrog where I have this Machlokes. So the significance of him picking an esrog, now we get the point. It was an esrog that was created the Shaila. Umi of Dinan Ketrei Chumrei. Do you go strict in both in two ways, that you have to take mice, you have to follow this opinion, you have to follow that opinion, you have every opinion you're going to follow? So Vahatanya, we have a brisa that says not to do that. The halacha is like Beisilal. But if you want to follow Beishama, you can do it. You can follow Beisilal. That's a contradiction, because if you tell me the halacha is like Beisilal, then you can't tell me that if I want to follow Beishama, I can follow Beishama. The explanation for this is given in Eruvin, where the Gemara says that these were two separate statements that were made at separate times, and then they just combined them together, but they're really inconsistent. Originally, you could decide which school you wanted to go to. You wanted to go to the Beis Hillel, so you would go to Beis Hillel. You want to go to Beis Shammai, you would go to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai, like Beis Yaakov, Beis Rivka. You go to that school, and then you would follow whichever school you joined up to. That's it. You want to follow them, you follow them. Then there was a baskel that came out, and it said halacha k'divrei Beis Hillel. You have to follow Beis Hillel. That's it. You can't just decide. Yeah. Okay. So this got combined together, and it's actually, we put the later part first. Leila malach k'divrei Beis Hillel. So the Yerushalmi in Bracha says that the Baskel came out in Yavne, which is exactly this time. The time of Ram Gamliel was the Ram Gamliel of Yavne. 1 second. Yeah, this is Rav Lezer Gadol. So you're right. This is not Ram Gamliel of Yavne. This is before the Baskel. So very good. Very good. Baskel is a voice from heaven that came out and said, the halacha is like Beis Hillel.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you should have been there. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very good. This is before the Baskel. So now it goes on, this price, it says, Mikule Beishamai and Mikule Beis Hillel. Let's say you want to accept both leniencies. The example of this is how we look at a body with the spine, if it's missing a vertebrae. So is it considered a treifa if the one vertebrae missing? The machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, if one vertebrae makes it in a treifa or not. Beis Hillel says yes, and Beis Shammai says no. Yeah, I should have really started the other way. There's another machlokes about giving off tumah in a house. It needs to be the majority of the body. Roiv, so if it's missing, according to Beis Shammai, if it's missing one vertebrae, it's still tummy. Now it's logical. Beis Shammai is strict. Beis Shammai is strict. If it's missing, give me 1 second. If it's missing, the vertebrae, it's still tummy. One vertebrae, because it's still tummy, because Beis Shammai holds it needs to be missing two to be not considered the majority of the body. Now, based on that, if it's not considered the full spine, if it's missing two, comes out of leniency. That it's not considered a treifa if it would be in an animal. It's not considered a treifa if it would be missing one. So Beis Shammai has a leniency and a stringency. In Beis Hillel, that says one has a stringency regarding tumah and leniency regarding treifa. So everyone has a leniency. So it says, don't take the stringency of both and don't take the leniency of both. Just pick your who you want to follow, one vertebrae or two vertebrae, and then that's it. Then it's going to be lenient for tuma and strict for treif. So if you want to go mikula beishamay, mikula beisilal, michumer beishamay, michumer beisilal, lava kasavaymer, vaksil b'cheisha chelach. You have to pick which way you want to go and pick the chumras and the kulas.
So if it's tuma, you can't give it as a carbon, but you can still eat from it. If it's straight, you just can't do either. You can't eat from it or give it as a carbon.
Yeah. If it's straight, well, the problem is that it's there's in carbon it has to do more with a mum than treifa, right? But treifa applies. Okay. Regarding let me see that again. Regarding the baskal, we have a rule ein mashgichim bebaskal. Turns out, who said that? Turns out that was said by Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua, and this is a very interesting discussion. Taisvus in Erevin and Taisvus and in Bab Metzia, the same Taisvus. But they discuss, there's several issues here. One is we have a rule in Mashgichim Baskal. We just said that you follow the Baskal about Beisil Beishamai. So there was an argument between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua regarding the Taner Shel Achnai. It was a type of oven, if it becomes tummy or not. And Rabbi Eliezer had a certain opinion. I think he said that it's tahar. And everyone else said tummy. I don't remember which way it was. And in order to prove his point, Rabbi Eliezer makes a baskal come from heaven. So Rabbi Yeshua says we're not going by the baskal. So the Gemara, we had it in Psachim. There was a Gemara Psachim that says halacha kebeis Hillel. So why you have to tell me halacha is like beis Hillel? We have a baskal that says halacha is like beis Hillel. You're telling me that you go like beis Hillel? This says no. It said halacha is like beis Hillel to follow, and according to Rabbi Yeshua, that doesn't accept baskals. So the Gemara viewed that according to Rabbi Yeshua, it has to give me a statement by each time that the halacha is like beis Hillel. Yeah, which comes out very interesting because Rabbi Eliezer was called Shamuti. He was a Beishamai influenced. And Rabbi Yeshua was considered the Beis Hillel, but turns out it's not so simple because Rabbi Yeshua didn't accept the Baskal, which makes it's very complex. Like they each have some acceptance of Beis Shammai in a certain way. But I mentioned this once to my father-in-law. He told me, I hear what you're saying, but if you look at each, Rabbi Yeshua is usually the Beis Hillel, the more lenient one. And okay, I'm sorry, Chaim, what are you asking? What is that? Oh, yeah. How do you? So how do you rule if what you're saying without the baskal? Is that what you're asking? Without a baskal, according to Rabbi Yeshua, how do you know what the halach is? I'm not sure. I guess each case has to be decided. I guess. Okay, yeah. The Gemara says there's reasons why we paskin like Beis Hillel. So that's Taisva's question over there. So why do you need a baskal if it's because they're the majority? Why do you need that? That's a Taisvas. Okay. We left off now with the question that why is Rabbi Kiva following two opinions? You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to pick one opinion and stick to it. So Rabbi Kiva gamrei istapikle v'layada ibeis Hillel be'echad b'shvat aimer ibetesvav b'shvat aimer. That's very interesting. Rabbi Kiva actually wasn't sure. He knows. He didn't have a shaila about Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. He's following Beis Hillel. Question is, he wasn't sure what Beis Hillel's opinion was. Did Beis Hillel say Achad B'Shvat or did Beis Hillel say Tu B'Shvat? So that's why he took both. Okay. Now we go to discuss Rabbi Yehuda that introduced this complicated concept about an esrog. that it could be like a tree, it could be like a vegetable, and that's why Rabbi Gamliel took two. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, but that wasn't the issue. There was a machlekes Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer. But we had a problem with that because it's very meduyak. It's said specifically in esrog, and according to Rabbi Gamliel, an esrog has one thing that's similar to a vegetable, and that is you follow when you pick it. But what day did he pick it on? Picked it on Echad B'Shvat. Echad B'Shvat is Beis Shammai. So what, he's going like Beis Shammai. Now, what did Rabbi Eliezer say? Rabbi Eliezer says that you follow, that it's a tree. Yeah, if it would have been the other way, we would have explained it like this. We would have said that Rabbi Eliezer follows Beis Shammai because he's a Beis Shammai follower. Rabbi Eliezer Shamuti. Yeah, that would have made it interesting.
Is an
But-
esrog like a vegetable? Is it-
An esrog is a citrus, a citron, the real citrus. But so it's really a fruit tree. The only thing is that it has that similarity that it flowers and gives fruit all throughout the year.
Oh.
Okay, so which is similar to a vegetable. So Amar Rab Chanina, V'itema Rab Chananya. Yeah, a lot of times when you have a V'itema in the Gemara, it's because it's a Rebbe and a Talmud. Here it's because the names look alike. A lot of times it's Rava and Rav Papa. Rava said something V'itema Rav Papa, because Rav Papa was a major student of Rava, and we don't know who it was when he said something. It's like a real chassid. He gives a statement, you don't know, Rabbi Chadakov or something. He would say things no one knows if it was from the Rebbe or if it was his own. Okay. Hacha be'esrik shechantu peireisav koidem tesvav the idach shvad askinan ubedinu dafilu koidem lachein ma'aser shaya kachaya. We're getting over here that the fact that it was Echad B'Shvat is insignificant. It's not. It happened. That's just the story. Happened to be Echad B'Shvat. What really happened was that in the previous year, Tu B'Shvat, 340 days ago, right? Let's say, because it's a year minus 2 weeks. Tu B'Shvat, right before Tu B'Shvat, this esrog blossomed and budded. Now, right after Tu B'Shvat, or after Tu B'Shvat, sometime it would be the time to pick it. The truth is that an esrog you can leave on the tree all year and pick it later. It stays on the tree. So you can leave it. He happened to leave it for a whole year, almost a whole year, and he picked it on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. So now the shaila was: do you follow the chanata, or do you follow when it budded, or when you pick it? And he picked it later.
Or both.
You can't follow both.
No.
The way to follow both is what Rabbi Akiva did, and you take Meiser twice. Yeah, right. Okay. Ravina says Krech V'Tani. Usually Krech V'Tani is a little different than what we're saying here. Krech V'Tani means mix the two opinions together, combine them. Krech is like sandwich them. But here it's La Yachad B'Shvat Hayel Tespa B'Shvat Hayel V'Lei Minig B'Shamai U'Beisil Nagba L'Minig Ram Gamliel V'Rab Lezer Nagba. Really, it was Tu B'Shvat, and that's when he picked it. And the shaila was if you follow the time of picking, which it was already Tu B'Shvat, so that means it's in the third year, or do you follow when it budded, which was before that, which is in the second? That resolves everything. The problem is you have to amend the text and to have that fit. Okay, that's Ravina's pshat. Amar Rabba Bar Ravuna, Rabba Bar Ravuna says, Hashta da Amar Rabba Gamliel Esrog Acha Lekitasa Isurei Ki Yerek Rosh Hashanah Shalei Tishrei. Yeah. This is like the wild card. You said it's a vegetable. What is a vegetable? What does it mean it's a vegetable? Vegetable means that you follow when you pick it, not when it buds. However, if you really think it's a vegetable, then vegetables don't have a Rosh Hashanah on Tu B'Shvat. They have a Rosh Hashanah on Rosh Hashanah, which is Echad B'Tishrei. That's what we said before. For Meiser and for the vegetable Meiser, we said all of that was the vegetables, the Yerakis. That was Echad B'Tishrei. So why is there a Echad B'Shvat or Tu B'Shvat discussion over here? The whole story should have been on Shmit and Liyavus and Tia Yerakis. Should have been on. Okay. That's a problem. I'm introducing a problem which the Gemara is going to discuss. But anyway, that's a statement. That's Rabba Bar Rav Huna's statement. It's Rav Huna. Rav Huna is a student of Rav. So Rav Huna would be a second generation Amoira, and Rabba Bar Rav Huna is his son. Third generation. Meisvei. The Gemara has a question. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Reimer, Likid Esrog Erev Tu B'Shvat, Achalei Tavei Hashemesh, V'chazav Likid Mishatavei Hashemesh. So you pick two esrogim. It's in the evening, right before Tu B'Shvat. Everyone's getting ready for the Tu B'Shvat Seder. And you run out to say, oh, let's get an esrog. So you pick one before nightfall. You pick one, Tavei Hashemesh. Pick one after nightfall. Yeah, Shemesh, right, and that means it's set, right? Yeah. So, who would explain that would be Rav Hirsch. So I'm sure Rav Hirsch looking by Yetzirah and see how he explains, because he likes to explain words and like. If you have a Hirsch Chumash, I have at home. I'll check it out if I remember. Okay. So here the esrog is picked Erev Tu B'Shvat, and then another one is picked Tu B'Shvat. So yeah, we have to analyze what we're doing here. Apparently Tu B'Shvat is going to be a cutoff point, and also apparently picking it is a cutoff point. So we're seeing exactly not what Rabba Bar Rav Huna just told us. Maybe it's a vegetable regarding picking, but apparently Tu B'Shvat is the cutoff point. So ein term and a meiser mizelze. You can't take meiser from one on the other because one is considered the old year, one's considered the new year. You can't take different years and take meiser one on the other, and this is all taking place Tu B'Shvat, before and after Tu B'Shvat. So that's the cutoff point. Let's say it's the third year going into the fourth year. Now the third year we have a second. The second tithe is not the second tithe. The second tithe is Meiser Ani. It's given to the poor. But in the fourth year, the second tithe is taken to Yerushalayim. So Meiser Rishon and Meiser Ani. Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni. Because you took two different fruits, the Meiser is going to be different for each of those fruits. The first one that you took before nightfall would be Meiser Ani, because it's the third year. And the next one is going to be Meiser Sheni, because it's the fourth year. Now, this is a little odd to us, because usually when we had a case like this, which we didn't say the third year and the fourth year, we did the second year and the third year. That's the normal way of discussing this.
Yeah.
Because we have the first year, the second year, and then we have the third year. Here you jump to the third year and the fourth year. It's a little odd.
Well, you do it twice every 7 years, no?
Right. But the choice of examples is a little odd. It's sort of like saying, usually you say men and women, or north and south, east and west. Let's say you would say women and men, south and north. It goes a little bit against the way that it's normally west and east. A new airline instead of southwest, west south. So yeah, it's a funny choice. The Gemara is going to ask that. Man shamet le da azal basal lakita. Who's the one that says we're on top of Tesvav? Who says that you follow when you pick it, which that was our case? Rabbi Gamliel. Okay. Rabbi Gamliel says why? Because he considers it a vegetable. Ukatani shvat. But it says that it's shvat, it's Tu B'Shvat. Doesn't fit with Rabba Bar Rav Huna. Rather, if we're going to say the statement of Rabbi Bar Huna, you have to say the following. Even though Ram Gamliel says that it's a vegetable that you follow after you picked it, Rosh Hashanah Shalei Shvat. Rosh Hashanah is Shvat. It's not really a vegetable. It has one detail that's like a vegetable, but it's not. The Rosh Hashanah is Shvat. Okay, that explains back what was going on with Rabbi Akiva. That he didn't know, should he follow Rabbi Gamliel or should he follow Rabbi Eliezer regarding if it's after picking or after budding. And nevertheless, that whole story was Shvat, at least according to Rabina. Yeah, we could have explained it differently according to the other Pshat, Rabbi Chanina, that it was going back a year earlier and it was before and after. We could have said, yeah, it was all Rosh Hashanah was the big question. Okay.
So things like Orla would go by to the Shvat, not by Tishrei.
Yeah, so it turns out that regarding Arla,
That doesn't include vegetables.
regarding Arla, we said before that Echad B'Tishrei is the Rosh Hashanah for Arla. Which complicated things because then we also said that you have to wait till Tu B'Shvat to eat the fruit. But remember, there was Rosh Hashanah at the beginning of the 3 years, it's Rosh Hashanah. The end of the 3 years turns out was Tu B'Shvat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a complication over there, which we said maybe it's only because he didn't have a complete first year. Remember that discussion?
You could have like 2
in a month.
Right.
Right. Maishna Hasam, the Gemara says, Diktani im haisa shniya nechnesas l'shlishas, and Maishna Hacha diktani meisa shlishas nechnesas l'rvias. Why did you pick an odd case of the 3rd year? Before, when we mentioned something like this, remember where it was. Did we have it today? The 2nd year going into the 3rd? No, we had it like we had cases before where if you had the 2nd year going into the 3rd year. Yeah. Liket Yerek Erev Rosh Hashanah. Shnia. Im haisa shnia nechnesas l'shlishas. We had it on Daf Yud Beis. We had other cases. If it's the 2nd year going into the 3rd year, that's usually what the Brisa would say. And over here it says the 3rd year going into the 4th year. The Gemara says, Milsa Gavorcha Kamashno is coming to tell me something interesting. A side point. The Esrog Kashale Yade, Va'idi de Mashim Shakuli Alma B'Shvias Leitan Periad Tlashnin. An esrog is very delicate. And when they touch the tree, it affects the tree in such a way that the tree is not able to give fruit for 3 years. Which means that in the Shemitah year, everyone comes into the field and just does whatever they want. They affected the tree in such a way that the first time the tree is going to give fruit again is going to be in the 3rd year. That's why it didn't say it's the 2nd year fruits going into the 3rd year. It has to say it's the 3rd year fruits going into the 4th year because this tree was so harmed by all the people coming in because the land becomes hefker. In Shemitah, everyone comes in and just takes. They're not careful. They're not the owner. Yeah, it's like a public kitchen, or something. The parks. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, it says it, but I don't know.
It takes 3 years also for it to grow an esrog?
No, it's just because it was handled or maybe mishandled, so it doesn't grow for the following 2 years. It will only grow in the 3rd year. That's what the Gemara is saying. Okay. Boimine Rabbi Yochanan me Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yochanan asks from Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai is the teacher of Rabbi Yochanan. Esrog Rosh Hashanah Shalai Emasai. When is the Rosh Hashanah for an esrog? Yeah, he's before Rabbi Yanai, for sure is before Rabbi Bar Huna. Yeah, Rabbi Yochanan is in the days of Rav and Shmuel. This is a much earlier conversation than Rabbi Bar Huna. It's in Eretz Yisrael though, in Tveria. So when is the Rosh Hashanah for and Esrog. Amalei Shvat. Says it's Shvat. Shvat the Chadashim is Shvat the Tkufa. Which one is it? The month Shvat or is the season Shvat? Yeah, this is like that Mendy and the Golem question. He says, it's just, how do you spell New York? So Mendy says, the city or the state. So, yeah, which one are you referring to? Which Shvat? The Shvat is also a season. So, Amalei de Chadashim. He says, I meant the month. Okay.
Now, the growth is dependent on the solar year.
Yeah. So what he means, the season would be the solar year. There would be a season of Shvat. Really, I think it's called Kufas Tevis, but it would mean the Shvat as it falls in the solar year, or it doesn't mean Shvat that it is in the Hebrew calendar. He says Shvat the Chadashim, the lunar Shvat. Okay. Rava me Rab Nachman, Ramilo Rab Yechanan me Rab Yanai. There's a question from Rava asked Rab Nachman, and some say that Rab Yechanan asked Rab Yanai another question. What happens if there's a second month of Adar? Now, his question is, if there's a second Adar, then the first Adar replaces Shvat, because it goes Shvat Adar. Now, I know I already had Shvat before, but maybe now it's not so. Maybe Shvat now moved over to Adar, and then I have an Adar that's before Nisan. No, that's not how it works. There's an extra Adar, fine, but Shvat is Shvat, that stays where it is, and Rosh Hashanah for the Esrog is Shvat. Amar Rabba. Rabba says Esrog bas Shishis. Yeah, get ready over here. This was easy until now. Now there's like things become not so consistent, so you have to follow what's happening. We switch gears. Amar Rabba Esrog bas Shishis shenichnas l'shviyas. An esrog from the 6th year. How is it the 6th year esrog? Because it budded in the 6th year. It grew in the 6th year, and now it's still on the tree in the 7th year. 7th year means that it's Shemitah. So P'turim in a Meiser. It's exempt from Meiser. Why would it be exempt from Meiser? Well, maybe you consider it a vegetable, and the fact is you picked it in the 7th year. So if you pick it in the 7th year, it's a Shemitah fruit.
You could pick vegetables in Shemitah year.
You can pick whatever grows. You just can't take like ownership, like as if get out of my field, this is mine. You have to pick like everyone else. So he took it in the 7th year. Upeturim in a beer. Now, the rule is that everything from the 7th year is exempt from Meiser. Because it's Hefker. That's why it's exempt. Because it's Hefker, it's ownerless. Hefker is exempt from Meiser. The problem is, Upeturim and a beer, this is not consistent with what we just said. Beer means that if there's no fruit left in the fields, then whatever you took to the house has to go back outside. And there's a machlekes in Mishnayos and Shvius between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, if the owner himself is allowed to retake it. Whatever the case is, he has to put it back outside and reset what he took, and then the aniyim can come or anyone can come and take it just like he had it. So it has to be always equal. So you can't take it in and store it inside unless there's still fruit outside for everyone else. Once there's nothing left outside, then your storage and your fruit basket that you have in your house has to go back outside, and everyone has equal, either Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Yeshua, or maybe the owner can't take it at all, and it's only for everyone else, or it's equal. No, it's different. So we say it's Peturim in a beer. Why is it Peturim in a beer? You can have your fruits inside. You don't have to take it outside. Apparently, it's not Shemitah fruit. If it's not Shemitah fruit, there's no such thing as beer. Only if it's Shemitah fruit. So there's a contradiction here because he's saying that it's Shemitah fruit regarding Meiser. When it comes to beer, it's not Shemitah fruit. It's a problem. We'll see in a moment. Let's say the other way. It budded in the 7th year, and now it goes into the 8th year. So Petura b'Meiser b'chayeves b'beer. It's exempt from Meiser, but it's chayev in beer. Well, if you follow the budding, so it's chayev b'beer. I get why, because it's a Shemitah fruit. Petura b'maiser, you follow the budding. I get why. It's a Shemitah fruit. So this end fits perfectly. It's very consistent. It's a Shemitah fruit because you follow the budding, not follow the picking. Yeah. Rashi discusses that, well, you contradicted the first part of Rabba's statement contradicts the second part. The first part of Rabba's statement contradicts itself because you said it's pater min meiser and it's pater min biur. That's inconsistent. But the second part also contradicts the first part because from the first part it looked like we were following the picking, at least in one case in here now. Yeah, I guess when we get the answer, it'll resolve everything. Let's see. Yeah, Rashi discusses this. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, Abaya is a student of Rabbah. So Rabbah made this statement, two parts, a sixth year fruit that's going into the seventh year fruit that's going into the eighth. Bishleim seifa l'chumra. I get what's going on in the seifa. In the second part, you're going l'chumra. That means you're considering it that it's basar chanata, the time of budding, and you're considering it that it's all a shemitah fruit, and what's mean l'chumra, that it's chayav b'bir. That's what it means l'chumra. El reisha, but if you follow the reisha, ketura min abir, I guess what it means l'chumra is even if it's not shemitah, but you're still doing beer just in case it's shemitah, right? El reisha petura min abir, but to say it's petura min abir, amai, why are you saying that? Damrin and zil basachanata. Why is it petura min abir in the reisha? It was the sixth year going into the seventh year. You're saying you don't have to take it out. Why do you not have to take it out? Because you're considering a sixth-year fruit. Then it should be chayav and meiser. Six-year fruit is chayav and meiser. It's not shemitah fruits. You follow when it budded in the sixth year. Amalei, he responds, Yada kol memashur. Everyone's touching it. And you say that it's chayav and meiser. What Rabba's doing is he's saying that you look at the fact. The fact is that everyone is in the field. You can't control what's happening here. Apparently they didn't have separate fields for esrogim like they do today. They have these esrogim orchards. They had an esrog tree, and so people would enter the field for everything else and to take. And the esrog tree was there, so are you going to stop them? You can't control them. Has to be, we have guards the whole time saying, "Oh no, that one's not shemitah. Everyone's touching it's hefker. It's gonna be de facto hefker. Not that it's hefker min adin, but it's de facto hefker because everyone's there." So Rabba's saying,
any year, regardless, it seems like it's always hefker.
Yeah. So if it would be a regular year, so no one's coming into your field. But because it's a shemitah year, everyone's coming into your field, and there's a tree there, they're going to be taking it, so it's hefker. Oh, hefker, then applies the rules that anything hefker is pater min meiser. But you don't have to do beer because it was only de facto hefker. It wasn't a shemitah hefker. It was because everyone was there touching it. Rav Hamnuna Amar, Rav Hamnuna says, "Bashishas shenichnesas l'shvius lo'ilam shishas." He says no. The people that are coming in there and they're touching your esrog tree, that's not hefker. They're a ganav. Just because they're ganavim doesn't mean everything is hefker, right? That's like chaos. No, it's like a Sodom logic. Everyone steals. It's all hefker. So that's not how it works. So he says that if it's a 6-year fruit, so then it's a 6-year fruit, and you're not chayiv in beer, like Rabbah said. But not only that, but it's chayiv in meiser. And then the opposite would be a 7th year that's going into 8th year. It's a full 7th year. That we have no questions about. That's a real shemitah fruit. Okay, let's go further. Let's see. Meisvei, Reb Shimon ben Yehuda Omer Mishum Reb Shimon. see. Esrig bas shishis shenechneses l'shvius, peturim in a meiser, upeturim in a beer. 6-year fruit is exempt from meiser, and it's exempt from beer. This is a slightly problematic. Why is it exempt from meiser? I know that it was picked in the Shemitah year, but the Chanata was in the sixth year, so it's not really a Shemitah fruit. So why is it exempt from meiser? We'll answer like we learned from Rabbah, that it's exempt from meiser because it's de facto hefker. Because everyone's coming into the field, becomes hefker, so it's considered hefker, but it's peturim in a beer because it's in reality it's not shemitah. It will follow chanata. Now, but what the Brisa says, she'en lecha davar shechayev v'meiser elam ken gadol b'chiyav v'nilkat b'chiyav. The Brisa says that it has to be two factors. It has to grow in the year of a meiser year, and has to be picked in the year of a meiser year. Okay, not shemitah. Let's say the next case. If it grew in the 7th year and it enters into the 8th year, it budded in the 7th year, enters into the 8th year, peturim in a meiser, upeturim in a beer. Are we okay with that? Yeah, that would follow Rabbah. That would follow what Rabbah said. And Rav Hamnuna. No, it's a problem here. Turim in a beer is a problem. Turim in a beer doesn't follow anyone. That's a problem. Why? We were saying that if it grows in the 7th year, if the budded in the 7th year, then it's a real shemitah fruit. There's an obligation to take it outside. That's a very serious thing. You have to take it outside when there's nothing left in the field.
In the 7th year?
Yeah, it budded in the 7th year and it was picked in the 8th year. You would have to take it outside, according to Rabbi and Rabbi Nuna. It needs to be picked and grow in the 7th year in order to be chayiv b'beer. That's what the Brisa says. Gemara says like this: Reisha kasha l'Rav Hamnuna. The beginning is a kasha to Rav Hamnuna because that was clear that there's a de facto sort of hefker, which only Rabbah held of, and he said it's pater min meiser. According to Rav Hamnuna, if it grew in the 6th year, I don't care that people are walking in your field in the 7th year and they're touching things that they're not supposed to. It's still chayav b'meiser. And the Brisa says no. The Brisa says it's pater min meiser. So that's a kasha in Rav Hamnuna. But seifa kasha bein la Rabbah bein la Rav Huna. The seifa is a kasha on both, because it says that it's peturim in a beer, and it shouldn't be peturim in a beer because it grew in the 7th year, and that was the chanata. That's what you follow. Okay, the Gemara says Tanayi. Actually, it's a machlekes Tanayin. Says Amar Rabbi Yosi of Tulmas Hayed. Rabbi Yosi says that of Tulmas Hayed mishum chamisha zakenim. Who's of Tulmas? I'm not sure. There was enough Tulmas in the Gemara Tainus that I think he was the one that they allowed him to dress up, to dress like a Roman or something, and he would sit in the Senate and tell everyone what to daven for. Remember that? He would say, "Oh, they're making a decree in the Senate." Apparently, you're supposed to know the news, yeah, so that when you daven, you'll know what to daven for. More specific. To dress like a Roman, yeah, I think so. Anyway,
Nowadays, it's just like whatever.
Yeah, nowadays it's better not to know the news and just daven it for. But apparently, then it was good to know. Okay, Amar Rabbi Yosef Tulmas Hein Mishum Chamisha Zakenim. He testified like this: Esrog Achar Lekitasei Lemaiser. You follow when you pick it. For Rabbi Seinu. Nimnu b'usha v'amru achal lekitase bein l'maiser bein l'shviyas. It sounds like they're arguing about shviyas, but the problem is that the first opinion, the chamisha zakenim, didn't mention shviyas. So the Gemara asks straight away, shviyas man dacha shmei. Well, you're coming in and mentioning some random thing. No one mentions Shvius. Okay, you follow when you pick it. But by picking it means that it's similar to a vegetable. Shvius mandach hashmei. So the Gemara says, the suri mechzer v'hachiktani. It's missing words and you have to read it like this. Esrig acher lekitase lemaiser v'aser chanata l'shvius. You follow chanata for shmita. Rabbi Seinu nimna leusha beusha acher lekitase bein lemaiser bein l'shvius. But their sages instituted an usha that no, that you follow when you pick it, whether for meiser or for shmita. According to that, we can now understand what was going on with Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, that brisa, because he was saying that if it grew in the 6th year, if it grew in the 7th year, it was a statement that grew in the 7th year and it goes into the 8th year, it follows, it's patur min abir. It's patur min abir. It's exempt. Why? Usually we were following chanata. Says no, you follow lakita. It was picked in the 8th year, so it's exempt according to the Chamisha Zakenim, that you follow lakita. Okay. Should we leave it here? Yeah, let's leave it over here. Actually, no. Let's do one more piece. We'll get to the Tanur Rabbanan. Itmar. Rabbi Yechon Reish Lakish Amri Tavayo. Rabbi Yechon Reish Lakish say, Esrig Bashishis Shenichnasa L'Shvius. It had Chanata in the 6th year, and it was picked in the 7th year. Loilam Shishis. It's considered the 6th year fruit. You follow the Chanata. So they're not accepting that it's Shavuot Ilan, that it's Shavuot Yerek. Ki Asa Rabin Am Rabbi Yechon Esrig Bashishis Shenichnasa L'Shvius. Afilu kazayas benasas kikar chayavan la mishum tevel. Even if it only grew in the 6th year a little bit, and it grew so much in the 7th year, it's still considered a 6th year fruit. Even though it continued to grow so much in the 7th year, we consider it a 6th year fruit because we follow the chanata of when it budded. That's the status that we give it. Even though all the growth was in the Shemitah year, but that doesn't matter. Okay, let's leave it over here. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. Thank you.